welcome back to the Awakening Philosophy Podcast. My name is Jed. We have been looking at what justice and wisdom is in the context of this book that we've been reading, and we are close to the end of it. Oh my goodness, hasn't this book been amazing? And aren't you so wise right now for having gone through this book with us, right?
They're secretly turned on by it.
Okay, and you can be turned on by your wisdom.
Hey man, wouldn't some kind of future where people have all their whatever basic needs met of shelter, all this crap, and they could do whatever the hell they want, wouldn't that be good? No,
Yes.
It wouldn't.
No, it wouldn't.
Kant would say some fucking bullshit.
That sounds like some bullshit Kant would say. So, wisdom and justice within the context of this book that we are close to the end of. Silly sound effects to begin the stream. Yeah. So let's, and we've got a new class of interpreters to truth. One of our jobs in mastering the dialectic is not just understanding the truth of self and reality through vision and understanding, through direct experience and understanding as well, whole and part. Not just mastering how to surface and remove our false beliefs about self and reality, called the pathologos. Not just being able to apply our dialectic art to understanding the messages we get from our dream maker, which is the highest use of the dialectic, but also sharing it with people. Our job is to share this with people as well. Be a dialectician. Allow human beings to participate in something inspiring and rational, harmonious and beautiful that might trigger their ousia, self-reflection in a new way, and might discover for themselves that reality is intelligible. All problems are, in principle, understandable and solvable. No need to bomb people or shoot people in the face or any of that crazy, or put them in prison cells or exploit them for profit through slave labor in the prison system. None of that shit's needed. We can just solve problems. Imagine that. Also, no need for belief or pathologos applied to reality. We don't have to believe in some dude wearing a big fancy hat, or our parents who taught us to be a Mormon or a Jew or a insert religion here or cult here. Because just as problems are inherently understandable, intelligible, so too is our excellence. In fact, our purpose is to free ourselves from the false beliefs that cause our problems, and to develop understanding of self, reality, and the divine, and to verify that understanding in direct experience. That's why we're here, to know self, because self is the highest possible idea of God, or the divine, or the source. So, it's you. Know yourself. Anyone who says, oh no, don't know yourself, for yourself, just believe me, is a liar, a scammer, and also sick in the head. Because only somebody who is suffering from a sickness that would be a good way to manipulate people, would be a good way of spending your life energy, would act in such a way that demands ignorance. So ignorance, belief, excellence, understanding is what we're learning for ourselves. And because we are learning to not just believe what someone else tells you about this book, which is, by the way, how they usually teach philosophy in schools and universities. Don't read the text, just listen to someone's commentary. Believe someone else. How is that playing out in our world? Where people are not taught to fear their own mind and fear critical thought, independent thought, rational thought, and instead believe what Trump, Netanyahu, Putin, Pope, Bishop, etc., Elon Musk, Jeff Bezos tells you to think, tells you to do. How's that working out for us? I would say, and also,
It's sad. And I'm sad for you.
and I'm sad for you. So, obvious for us because we've been reading this book, that's bad. That's the nature of human ignorance and problems. And so what we've been doing is realizing that we can bring all of this insight that we have been developing for ourselves in learning to read, without interpretation, which is learning to see the logos and follow the logos and not succumb to your pathologos. The application to society and different institutions or segments of society, but also most importantly to ourselves, in our reading, in our conversation with others, in our dream analysis. We can take these two aspects, the logos and pathologos, wisdom and ignorance, excellence and sickness, and create an analogy, a giant or a mega analogy or extended analogy to unify all of these ideas and insights together for our own seeing. For example, an example of an extended analogy would be starting with, king is to his subjects as a shepherd is to his sheep, but you can extend that the more you learn. Hey, king is to his subjects, is to his carriage, is to his castle, as a shepherd is to his sheep, is to his horse that he rides, is to his tent he sleeps in. You can add more and more and more and more. That's what we can do to unify what we've been reading in the text. Now, as we mentioned, this will help for our seeing, but also the more that you see, the more that you can have fun communicating what you see with others. You can create your own analogies to share with the world that problems are understandable and our excellence is also understandable, and it's that very development of understanding that we are here to do as the purpose for human life. See? Just as a simple sentence. It's true, profound, helps everyone, puts an end to suffering and ignorance, and allows for our highest development and excellence and knowing and showing of self. Isn't it interesting? Just a sentence. You could put it on a bumper sticker or on your fridge. Isn't it fun?
If you don't know, now you know.
And now you know, says Mr. Soundboard. Right. So, given that there is a purpose and a intended functioning for human beings to follow the logos, the skill of that is called the dialectic. The application of that skill to benefit the subject, not yourself, the subject, although you do benefit because you're perfecting the art as well, so it's a win-win.
I'm eating the testicles of this bull, and I'm eating it raw.
I pressed the wrong button.
It's a win-win-win-win-win.
It's a win-win-win. So, the skill of understanding the dialectic, the application to benefit a subject, art, solving societal problems would just be the extrapolation of that and the application of that to governance. Notice that the politicians never care for us. In fact, their game seems to be, how can we do the most harm, exploit the most people, destroy the planet, destroy humanity for our personal profits and our pathologos sadistic impulses? That's not an art. Do you allow a doctor to torture and kill patients for their profit? Nope. Malpractice. Corruption, right? So it's a principle that's universal. It can be universally applied. So the art is the dialectic, and its application is to follow the logos and surface and purify the pathologos. Understanding, belief. So all of that reflection you could put into that extended analogy. The logos is to our excellence, is to perfection, as the pathologos is to our sickness, is to purification, etc., etc. Corruption on the side B, an art side A. So as logos is to an art, so too pathologos is to its corruption. So, seeing as that's our purpose, and we're all interested in it, we all want to understand ourselves and reality, and we all want to remove our problems, we all want to be happy and remove our sadness, it's a basic principle, then we can discover for ourselves there is a single purpose. Having a single purpose or function that you can do at all times allows for a kind of unification of our soul. By soul, I mean the forces that we have, or the psychic forces that we have rulership over. One of the key words that we've been learning is rulership. Notice, analogy is to do with rulership as well. King is to his subjects, shepherd is to sheep. Corruption is to be ruled by the ignorant. Our current political, economic, and religious class are all the most ignorant and cruel, seeking opportunities to abuse people by manipulating their own pathologos beliefs. Whereas a good society would be, or a just society would be, to be ruled by the actually knowledgeable, who can use their art to benefit, not themselves but their subjects. So you can do it at all times. You can use the dialectic at all times in a way that unifies the forces of your soul. Or the forces that we have rulership over, we could bring together into a single word and say soul. Now, we don't have to wonder if there is actually a soul, or if the soul is temporary or eternal. We're just using the word to talk about something that brings together into a unity the fundamental psychic forces we have. We have a reasoning and imagining capacity. We have a force that seeks our outward movement in the world. We have a force that seeks out for our inward goodness, our desire. So we could say those are the primary forces: inner desire, outward seeking, and reasoning. But what if you're desiring a mastery of the dialectic and an application of the dialectic to know the self and purify the ignorance? What if your outward movement is to function through the dialectic to do the same? What if your reasoning is through the dialectic, the structure and skill of understanding, to do the same? It could be unified. What's the significance of having a unified soul? That brings us to where we are in the text. The idea of justice and wisdom. Justice, a kind of state that you can get into as a result of this unified soul. And wisdom, a kind of language, understanding that allows you to recognize those states of mind, logos and pathologos functioning as states of mind of justice and injustice, put names on those states and functioning to preserve that state of justice. So wisdom is a kind of preservative. Isn't that interesting? This text is very interesting, right?
Why can't these guys shut up, whether or not it's about Jesus?
I don't know. Why can't they?
Unbelievable sluts these days.
Oh my God, these days, aren't they the worst?
Do a poggers.
But some people want to do a poggers about that. I don't know. Oh my goodness.
Everybody should love sluts. I love sluts.
Okay, I'm glad.
Hey, you can't say that to her. You show her some respect.
I said I was glad.
Gooner bait.
Oh my goodness. Well, we have to get viewers in some way. Why? Because, as we've been saying, part of our job is to share this dialectical art, to share the fact that problems are solvable and our excellence is understandable. It's all it is a choice to jump into the logos or share in understanding and sacrifice our beliefs. Not easy, because we are trained from childhood. Remember when you were a little baby? Seen other little babies? They don't know anything. They're imitating and learning how to survive in the world. And what is the fundamental problem of humanity? The pathologos, a belief. And what is the essence of the pathologos? A fear of mind. We are in a war against mind because of our childhood education or indoctrination into a fear of mind. Therefore, to hear that, hey, mind is actually great. And if you use mind, you can discover for yourself you live in an intelligible and caring universe. But someone's got to say it. Our job is to share this as part of the dialectic, sharing it. But as a result of people's level of development and the power of their pathologos, they will respond in various different ways to that truth. And we are developing a list of the possible kinds of ways people respond to a new truth. we have to be aware of so we can communicate efficiently. So far we've got 8. Those that reject the new to keep the old, those that pretend or to speak for the new, a wolf in sheep's clothing while remaining loyal to the old, those who take a piece of the new as a patchwork on the coat of their old beliefs, the patchwork coat model, those that reject the wolves in sheep's clothing, the rejecter of the rejectors, like Mark, supporter of the rejecter, those that bootlick for the wolves in sheep's clothing, those that advance certain parts, like Plato, Plotinus, and Proclus, but ignore other important parts, like, for these 3, dream analysis and midwifery. Those who appear loyal to the old, so the inverse of the wolf in sheep's clothing, but create an alternative to the literal reading of the old core beliefs, to give like a kind of passageway out of their indoctrination. A lion in wolf's clothing. Dionysius. There are those who have been fooled by the lion, so they may add to the actual truth, but because they've been tricked into thinking that the old beliefs are actually salvageable, they try and salvage the old or synthesize the two together. A wolf and lion, both sides are. And now we have this extra back to the blue. Have this the new kind of interpretation, Sneesius. Someone who inwardly, zoom in a bit, who inwardly follows the new, while outwardly supporting the old, ruling the old, outwardly pretending to be in the old. Sneesius. Or lead the old, like Sneesius. How do you spell Sneesius? Who cares? Sneesius. Or there's a nice quote, ruler of all the dead that lay in ignorance, or something to that effect. Let's find it. Looking, you can look with me. Identified with the tradition of the belief of the core beliefs of the church, disguised himself as a follower. Consciously chose to believe, okay, blah, 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 blah. Pursuing philosophy and dream work privately. Preach the one and conceal his philosophy. Even though they skinned alive his teacher. That's what the belief-based traditions do. They can't actually prove their system to be true through reason because they can't engage in reason. That would be the dialectic. That would be the win-win. They have to murder and oppress and subjugate send ICE agents in, burn books, keep people impoverished in a state of unnecessary slavery by the billionaires, etc., because they can't win their argument with reason. People don't, and I heard an interesting quote on the soundboard.
People don't logic their way into stupid positions. They stupid their way into stupid positions.
They stupid their way into stupid positions. And they have to stupid their way into maintaining that stupid position, including skinning alive his own teacher. So, what actually benefits? Understanding. And an abolishment of the systems that venerate our ignorance, because it doesn't actually help anyone. It's just a scam that's used to torture and oppress, which is bad. So he's a Platonist. Oh, and we have a lovely set of new terms that you can add to your mega analogy. In the good side, a free, open association of thinkers. Hooray! Practice contemplation. Hooray! Dream work, dialectic, self-analysis. So your job is to, ideally using the text, find the analogy on the lesser. Greater is to lesser. What would be an open, free association of thinkers be in belief? Closed, oppressed, right? Those that support ICE or the right wing or religion, they're all closed-minded. They all, please ICE, shoot us some more in the face. Right? They're oppressed, they're not free. Take away our freedoms, Daddy Trump. Right? Oppress us, Elon Musk. Take away our bathroom breaks, please, Jeff Bezos. It's the opposite of free. Thinkers, they're not thinkers, they are what? You put that in for the side B of your mega analogy. It's part of reading. You gotta solve the puzzles. Contemplation, what's the opposite? Contemplation, of course, as we've seen, concentration on a topic or an idea or a question. If you sustain that, carry it with you all day, which helps if you, all of the tangents that distract you, your pathologos, if you're also doing midwifery and dream work, you can remove and lessen the influence of this to help your sustained concentration. That becomes meditation. And when you meditate to the point where you join with your object, so you better be contemplating on one of the ideas that are non-physical or beyond even being the self, the first and second hypothesis, you can join with that contemplation. So therefore, the highest use of this, the dialectic, is the archetype or model for yoga, the spiritual method. To quote the book, many are the thrisis bearers, that's a big staff, so many are the magic staff bearers, but few are the true mystics. Thems be the philosophers. Right? You can give a wizard staff to a barbarian, doesn't make him an actual wizard. So you can look at the Pope or everyone else carrying a staff and say, well, look how wise I am. Are you a true philosopher? Then maybe you should reallocate your stat points from side B of the mega analogy, pathologos. Maybe you should reallocate them into the logos section if you want to be a true mystic or wizard. So, if contemplation is in the realm of the logos, what would be the pathologos? See, you can have fun.
Where's the joy? Where's the whimsy? Where's the childlike wonder?
It's in solving these puzzles.
This is why I love this channel, man.
Oh, thanks. So, dialectic, what's the opposite of that? There are lots you can do. One example would be debate. using words to shout your opinions at the other person, subjugate dissent. Modern media, modern propaganda, it's not dialectic. Speech making, that's not dialectic. Dream work, what's the opposite of that? How do people who are not in the logos approach their dreams? Self-analysis. Anyone personality, people who are not personality maxing? That's what the cool people call it today.
Hubba hubba. I just want more testosterone to human body ratio, and I'll finally be satisfied.
See, even Emma will be turned on if you do personality maxing, which is what the kids call it. What's personality maxing?
Personality maxing requires you to look inward on a deeper level, and it's harder to fix because then you have to make fundamental changes to who you are as a person. And it's because it feels like a much more core component of themselves that they don't want to change. Like it's like who
am I? So it requires courage. As our friend Keegan Teagan from the internets.
This guy had to admit that the people in his life who helped convince him to be...
We're not going to go through his whole thing because we've just done a long drop. But yeah, he's all about courage and character needed to self-reflect, especially on your earliest teachers, because he studies the psychology of politics. He's got a great Instagram and YouTube channel, Keegan Teagan. It's not Keegan Teagan, it's Keegan... something else starting with T. You'll find it. He's good. So it's pretty much he's talking, well, I don't know whether he knows it or not, but he's what he's discovering is the nature of the pathologos by looking at how it's expressed in the difference between right-wingers who savagely support ignorance and their own oppression and the oppression of others. Why are some people like that, and why are some people progressive? Or have empathy for other human beings, want to understand problems, want to think critically. So, you could see, by the way, he does a lot of science, so he's doing the science side of what we're doing. So he has all the scientific validation studies and all of that sort of stuff to show what we are discovering about the pathologos and the logos. So, self-analysis, personality maxing.
Brain rot escalates.
And if you want to use, brain rot, okay, personality maxing isn't brain rot, it's just cool.
Hubba hubba. I just want...
Okay, enough of that from Emma. So, and on the other side, the negative side, people who are bound by belief or pathologos have their lives directed by priests, so not free, not thinking. They are hostile to non-believers. They can't help anyone. That's why cruelty is the point for people who are stuck in belief. They can't actually help. That requires understanding. But their whole thing is hostile to understanding. So what can they do? They can hurt. Then how do you rank up? Every group has its own kind of hierarchical development. You can become a better basketball player. You can become a better chess person. You can rise through the ranks in this or that. How do they rise through the ranks if you don't have any understanding? Cruelty. Why did Kirsty Gnomes have to shoot her dog? To show that she liked to murder people and she was a cruel sadist to get accepted within the Trump group? Why does the Trump group and those that they support like to murder human beings, torture human beings? Why is there a KKK, Gestapo, Nazi police kidnapping children from primary schools all through America? Why is cruelty and torture the point? As we've read in the book, there is no feeling associated with belief, and there is no access to knowledge which is required to benefit, so they have to take as a surrogate what they can do. Cruelty, oppression, the feeling of power over people when they inflict their cruelty is a mark of excellence, or vice actually, but vice disguised as virtue, for belief-based traditions. In principle, as a surrogate to knowing which is not accessible by belief because they are hostile to non-believers. This is something we saw earlier in the text, by the way. That's why cruelty is the point. That's why all these billionaires and politicians and religious authorities could be making the world a better place, but they seem to want to make it worse. They just need one more orphan to feed into the orphan crushing machine for Jesus to be happy, or for profits in the next quarter to go up, or to appease their base of KKK MAGA ICE people. They just need one more person shot in the face, one more person to be starved to death, one more person to be homeless. And the next quarter, they need more. Cruelty is the point. So, add all of that into side B, if it's part of your own reflection. But isn't it interesting? Not only can we bring into a unity truth, we can also bring into a unity with one word, pathologos, human cruelty, suffering, problems, injustice. So Sneesius had a platonic inner life different from his outward. By the way, meddling in a business that's different from your own, number one, that's not unified. Getting into other business you shouldn't be in. Opposing your higher principles upon which you live, that's not unified. That's not integrity. Assuming a post to lead others in a life of belief, influencing others, leading others, there's a kind of leading or the rulership idea that we've been discovering, which in a life of belief, which he himself rejects. How many of the popes, preachers, megachurch owners don't believe any of the shit they preach to others? How many of the right-wing scamosphere, right, all of those terrible Daily Wire, Jordan Peterson, Tim Pool, bullshit, Joe Rogan podcast kind of things, none of them believe any of the shit the Alex Joneses. But they know if they pander to their Asmongold's, if they lie and they lead others in a life of the beliefs that they themselves reject, they earn the bucks. Majority, I would suggest. I think very few of religious authorities, political authorities, capitalist authorities, and right-wing scamosphere podcast people, or journalists as well, mainstream journalism, I think very, very few of them actually believe the shit that they pass on to others. It's easy to tell, because they're all about, no, education is a scam, says Charlie Kirk. Says the billionaire class that pays Charlie Kirk to lie, while they send their own kids to the best schools. See? Hey, peacefully protest, don't have guns. Whereas we will kill whoever we want with all of our guns while carrying masks and having no accountability. See? They don't believe any of the shit that they pass on to others. Sneesius is another person in this class. Kind of person that responds to truth in this way. Oh, new truth? Oh, I'll follow it, but I will get others to be ignorant.
I'm eating the testicles of this bull, and I'm eating it raw bull balls. This is raw buffalo balls.
Those guys tell you to eat raw buffalo balls while they are shooting themselves up with HGH. Right? It's a class of people who respond to truth in number 9. By the way, what does it do to your own soul? In accepting the post as a bishop, he divides the efforts of his own soul. He's not just hurting the people who are scamming them. All of these mouthpieces for the pathologos groups, religion, right-wing, capitalism, red pill, manosphere, they're not just hurting everyone else cashing in, they're hurting their own soul. You divide the efforts of your own soul so that you've become a ruler of all the dead that lay in ignorance. Wow, congratulations. By lying and abusing reality and the principles of reality, abusing the principles of Logos, lying constantly, dividing your soul, doing what you shouldn't be doing, going against your own principles. Congratulations, you've won. Congratulations, CEO. You've poisoned all of the Earth's lakes to save money on costs of production. You've removed all education so people can be more ignorant, more easily manipulated. You've destroyed the environment so you can privatize profits and socialize expenses to get all the profits. Congratulations, America and Israel. You've completely genocided the Palestinians, and you've blown everything up. Congratulations. Now you are the ruler of all of what is dead and ignorant. Good job. You've won. Congratulations, all you right-wing manosphere comedians. Your version of comedy, not to be insightful, not to be clever in your delivery, not to use analogies so that others can come to an insight, the dialectic. No. You've just said the naughty word. Right? Because you're surrounded by other ignorant people who can defend you and not so you don't get punched in the face. Right? Where does Joe Rogan live? This guy?
I don't want to eat a monkey.
Doesn't want to eat a monkey. He wants to live in a private compound surrounded by Navy SEALs protecting him from getting punched in the face for all of his hateful right-wing ignorance and rhetoric. Same thing, Tim Pool, same thing, the rulership class, same thing, the billionaires. They have to be insulated from society because people will shame them and abuse them and maybe punch them in the nose for being cruel and sadistic. Congratulations. You've become a ruler of all the dead that lay in ignorance. Congratulations, right-wing comedians. You've successfully turned the tide against the most vulnerable. There are ICE agents shooting gay people in the face because you think it's funny to be cruel against the marginalized, the gay people. You think it's funny to be racist. So what are we doing? We're accepting the ICE, Gestapo, KKK, Nazis to send people who have different color skin than pure white to concentration camps. Oh, and by the way, they're just popping into primary schools and kidnapping children for their own pleasure along the way. That's what ICE is doing. Imagine that. The Epstein class's thugs are acting in an Epstein way while covering their faces with masks. Oh, and allowing any old idiot to cover their face in a mask, claim to be ICE, and kidnap children from primary schools for fuck knows what. Sneezius. Those that inwardly do one thing but outwardly pander or treat as children, where is it in the text? Treat like ignorant, stupid children everyone else so they can be scammed. Scammers. The right wing, they're all scammers. Pathologos is all scammers. Where's the thing about treating them like children? Oops. Children. I spelled it wrong twice. CH. Oh my god. Oh my fuck.
Unbelievable sluts these days. I'm eating the testicles of this book. You have the brain of a child if you think that.
Speaking of children is the word I'm looking for. Children of Abe. Treated them like children. Here we go. So Sneezius became a Christian, was actually wanted to be considered a Platonist, but becomes a Christian bishop and tells all that he will never preach anything he knows to be false. Right? A very common lie used by the griftosphere. Oh no, I disagree with Donald Trump sometimes. Really? When it goes against my beliefs. Liars. Did the believers know that he treated them as children? That's what they do, right? The Asmongoulds and the Tim Pools and the Donald Trumps and the Netanyahus, they consider the many to be children and treat them as such. Sneezius. Is it Sneesius? Am I saying his name right? Yep.
You sick fuck.
If you don't know, now you know.
So, even though they're skinned alive as teacher, he joined that group of pathologos people. Believe. So, what is it? Ruler of all the dead that lay in ignorance. Let's add that quote. Here we go. Inwardly follows the new, while outwardly pretending to be in the old or lead the old, like Sneesius. A ruler. Ruler of all the dead that lay in ignorance. Now, the idea of being dead also has connotations to the physical world. So notice, all of these people do not seek truth. To use our model again, we have the self, we have mind, or the world of being, we have the ultimate, our goal, the truth of reality itself, the self. We have the experience of truth, mind or reality, and we have the physical dimension, or becoming. This is the dead, the physical world that you see with your senses. Everything you see is a experience of something dead. Even when you touch something, the skin cells on the edge of your skin are dead. The sight that you see no longer is there. Light has to travel. And everything in the physical world is in a process of becoming, coming into birth and decaying. That physical world, because they have a fear of mind, which means they're blocked from experiencing reality and the ultimate self, means they're stuck in the physical world of becoming materialists, or the fifth hypothesis. There is no truth, there is no meaning, there is no mind, there is no principles. So they become addicted to physical pleasures. Right? What are the billionaire class, the religious class, the political class? What else do we have? That's venerated by belief. I guess you could say the justice class. It's all punitive justice. The hogs that are shooting people in the face, that always investigate themselves and never do anything wrong, so there's no actual self-reflection or growth or improvement to justify the systems of oppression by these fuckers. What do? With all of their ill-gotten gains and oppression? Go to Epstein Islands. Do a lot of cocaine. Do things on their yachts. Have lavish balls with all of the best food while all of the people they're supposed to be ruling over are starving. Physical pleasures, that's their addiction. So, ruler of all of the dead, well, if you are a believer, you cannot develop understanding or a love of understanding and reach higher levels of pleasure and reality and truth. All you're left with is physical pleasures in the realm of the dead, or the realm of becoming, which we also personify, as we've said, as Hades. There's no hell, but look at all the hellish things every moment of this earthly existence is filled with. Hades, where we play out our ignorance until we wake up and realize our purpose is to know and understand self, know and understand reality, That's following the logos. That's the art of dialectic. So, all of that is implied with the idea of the symbol of the dead, ruler of all of the dead. They're not literally dead, but this is the realm of the physical. Congratulations, you're a ruler of all of the dead that lay in ignorance. And we have defined ignorance before. Ignorance as the vision or experience or knowledge of mind, as well as the understanding of mind together creates wisdom. So too, it's inversion, belief, the imitation of knowing, and materialism, modern science, or to quote Bacon, father of modern science, we are to torture Mother Nature so she will reveal her secrets. So instead of using the logos or understanding to experience mind and self, using language and to deny its existence. So that's ignorance. So ignorance is that, the inverse of wisdom. But of course, we are wondering, hang on a second, if we realize there are two kinds of levels of stages of enlightenment, or levels. Same map here. The model knowing, or the whole here in the realm of being, the overlap between whole and parts, out of time and in time, rest and motion, all of those fundamental building blocks of understanding, experience, and existence. The logos, the terms of the logos. That's wisdom, which is experienced as beauty or bliss, experienced as bliss and the perfection of beauty. Ignorance is in the physical world. So those people who are stuck in belief, I want to be a bishop, rule all of the people stuck down here in ignorance, ruler of all the dead in the physical world of becoming that lay in ignorance. Congratulations. But we're asking the question, hang on a second. If there's part different from whole, if there is whole and part experienced ultimately as wisdom, what's the whole? So of course, if beauty is a kind of experience of a greater whole, the more holes the better, right, Emma?
The more holes, the better.
Oh, yay, we did it. we got a good roll.
I'm eating the testicles of this bull, and I'm eating it raw bull balls. This is raw buffalo balls.
Right, so people down here are interested in that kind of right-wing bullshit. Notice, it's a physical solution to problems. If you eat enough raw ox testicles, instead of following the ox herding pictures, then you will get all your dreams will come true, says Joe Rogan, getting paid by the ox testicle manufacturer or whatever. You know, it's all stupid. It's all stupid.
These absolute dullards, borderline chimps, who want to kiss a fox.
I want to kiss a fox, which is a physical experience. So we're running, hang on a second. If those people who are stuck in parts can never experience true beauty, true knowing, because those are all kinds of holes, and the physical world is defined by the parts not connected to the whole. So people in ignorance or belief who only, notice, we can still participate because we have mind, so long as we do the game that we're doing here, because you're all the best noodles and the best beans.
Making ice cream is a good and courageous thing.
You're very courageous. So we can ask the question, hang on a second, if these people are not able to participate in beauty, truth, justice, that are all kinds of wholes, justice, necessarily perfectly ordered whole. Beauty, the experience of the whole that's balanced, ordered, harmonious, flow, symmetrical. So there's no beauty or justice down here. People in ignorance, the dead that lay in ignorance. There is the experience of beauty here in mind or knowing or wisdom. But hang on a second. Is there a even higher kind of justice, beauty, truth? That's still a whole, so it can still have those things, but transcending even parts. That's our biggest puzzle from this book. What is, if the physical is the lesser, mind is the greater, what's the ultimate? So there's our mean analogy. A is to B is to C. What's the ultimate? What would be a kind of experience of a whole that's beyond experience as we know it? And equally so, model and activity. What would be the kind of ousia or model and the kind of logos activity? What's the kind of understanding of self and the kind of knowing of self? And the closest we've gotten so far is the first hypothesis is in there somewhere. The ninth ox herding picture is in there somewhere. Still not completely sure which of the two. We haven't gotten into the 10th yet. We're holding out on that one. We are edging you in that one, holding out.
You can be a gooner.
Nonsense. Crazy. So we are doing
Gooner bait.
Gooner bait.
I'm just asking for some gooner men's skin. It just seems right. It just seems fair.
Absolute nonsense that we are doing with these sound drops.
All checks out.
You're a little bitch ass baby.
Oh my goodness. We also have, so the closest we do have for a wondering about what it would be like to have the kind of wisdom of self as both the experience as a whole and the understanding as parts, or the ousia of knowing and the inherent intelligibility or logos, like in the metaphor that we can use is the beauty of music as a whole. But to give rise to that greater whole of beauty, we need a harmonious ordering of the parts. So parts and whole, Apollo and Aphrodite, if you wanted to make it a theology, a mythological representation of the principles that we exist in as, and we are moving through. Isn't this fun? Now, if you just jumped in now, or you just showed your grandma this episode, all of those words that I used in that 10-minute reflection then might go completely over grandma's head. But because we're up to 135 episode of this text, and each one of those terms we nailed down in a little dialectic as we read, makes sense. So we're starting to see through our understanding. We can say these awesome kick-ass things that will blow the mind of your grandma very easily and have fun with it. See? The kind of learning that changes you, which is also one of the ideas in the book that we've read. Modern education isn't. It's repetition, rote, regurgitated on a test, so the authority says, yes, you have the official beliefs. On you go to be a bishop, or a CEO, or a politician, or a slave. We want a kind of education that changes us. You end up seeing through it. And we're feeling that now. And we're having fun. Aren't we having fun?
Making ice cream is a good and
People don't logic their way into stupid positions. They stupid their way into stupid positions.
Into stupid positions. It's true. I got a text from my dentist saying, we have increased appointments. And I say, but the billionaires and trillionaires that rule my government have decided that teeth are a luxury bone. So it's not coveted under any kind of socialized medicine. I need to be rich before I can afford to go to you. And I am a musician and a philosopher. Two roles not known for their wealth. So, thanks for the text. But really,
Further fill the internet with spam and AI slop. It's a rug pull.
it's kind of a rug pull and spam for me. Anyway, you can donate to the channel if you want. It's a link below. So, the closest thing we've got to some sort of wisdom of self. Hey, speaking of spam, we have our first spam. Wait, is that a spam? Can't see. Are you still there, chatter, or are you spam?
This is an AI guy.
Are you an AI guy?
The internet is all robots.
Because the internet is all robots.
Oh my fuck.
Oh my fuck.
It's a scam. Further fill the but you shut up. You shut the hell up for a second. You're not real.
And funny, I got a chat bot spammer at the same time I got a text scammer. Capitalism is all scam. God damn it.
People don't logic their way into stupid. Die mad about it, bitch.
Oh my goodness.
The hell's wrong with you people? You sick freaks.
Sick freaks.
They're completely lying to you. They're completely lying.
Completely lying. So the closest thing we have to what it would be like to have the wisdom or ousia and logos of self is the dream maker. Therefore, we have been seeing that those philosophers that excel and go beyond all of the other ones, going beyond even Plato, Proclus, Plotinus, great Platonic philosophers who've reached truth or reality, but have not transcended or gone through the gateway of divine luminosity to the self because they haven't seen the significance of dreams. Dreams is a kind of necessary use of self-reflection or dialectic for our purification of ignorance, our perfection of wisdom, and our transcendence to from the penultimate to the ultimate spiritual experience. The penultimate to the ultimate spiritual experience. So Sneesius did see the value of dream work and was doing dream analysis, which would have put him in here had he not also been ridden by pathologos to be acting so cruelly and unjustly to all of his followers. So we're seeing again, there are two applications of the dialectic fundamentally. Even reaching truth is not the same as purifying what's false. Dreams can do both, but it sounds like he might have been practicing dream work but have not mastered it. Therefore, we, as the best beings and the biggest of beans and the best noodles, can reach a higher class of philosopher than even Sneesius, if we do both. We continue to master our dialectic, apply it to our dreams, and use it for both perfection and purification. We can go beyond Sneesius. It's a win-win-win.
Win-win-win-win-win.
You just attacked my person. You just harmed my body.
I didn't do that.
Calm your fucking tits.
So calm your fucking tits. So, we are wondering about this. What's the equivalent of the ousia and logos of self if it's beyond wisdom? Right?
Everybody should love sluts. I love sluts.
Oh my goodness.
These absolute dullards, borderline chimps who want to kiss a fox.
That's anti-feminist in some way.
Is it
It's
anti-feminist?
better to come in the sink than to sink in the cum.
Interesting philosophical speculation. All right, let's keep going. So, ruler of all the dead that lay in ignorance, that ninth class of interpreter. They don't believe their shit at all. They're doing one thing privately and abusing people publicly. So, appearing loyal to the old, while secretly following the new. guiding his subjects to remain loyal to what he should be freeing them from. This idea of rulership also extends to the dialectic. To have your model of knowing the whole, there's our knowing of the whole, and an understanding of the parts, there's our ousia and logos together. That's a very thick line. Knowing and understanding together, necessary for rulership. Therefore, everyone who wants power over others, well, first of all, shouldn't have it, because they shouldn't want that. They shouldn't want to be ruler of the dead in ignorance. They should be wanting to spend their time developing philosophy to experience this and this. But those who we should make the good case is their civic duty or moral responsibility to be a ruler or leader, because, well, the standard would be if they have that wisdom for rulership, so you can benefit through the dialectic to purify people's pathologos, put an end to all of the terrible stuff we've mentioned today, and also perfect our logos. Therefore, Sneezius ain't doing that, but he should be. He should be freeing them from what he appears to believe, but he himself has rejected. Has he become unjust? Like by the way, like all the billionaires, religious authorities, political authorities, all of those same bastards who say, oh, education is bad, don't waste your money, but send their own kids to private schools, right? Socialism is bad, but all of their money comes from the government, right? And whenever they make a mistake, they're bailed out. So socialism for me, but not for thee. Magic your way up with the invisible hand. Pull yourself up from your bootstraps, which is impossible. But for us, no. We have a support network. So, Sneezius. They're Sneezian. Has he become unjust when his efforts should have been to manage his own life and ruling himself? Again, the standard for who we should look to as our leaders. Those who have themselves gained a mastery of this themselves. Ruling yourself. But again, always a metaphor. We are ourselves reading this so we can gain our own excellence into ourselves. Becoming one out of many, becoming just and beautiful. There is the whole of the ordered parts. In the state we know as wisdom, so it's a state, wisdom is a state. It is interesting. Since to preserve that inner state takes a knowledge we call wisdom. And he has betrayed the principle of justice, a principle that lies at the heart of what it means to truly be a human, and assumed a rule antithetical to his own philosophical principles. So, there is a state called justice, where you are doing your own business, you are ruling yourself, you could be a ruler of others in a good way, but you are primarily managing your own life, ruling yourself by becoming one out of many. So having a single function that you can do at all times, as we are discovering of the dialectic, can allow you to get into that state of flow called justice. But there's also a state called wisdom. Because to preserve and maintain that state, you better have a knowledge to recognize it and name it to preserve it. So there's our recognizing of a whole and understanding it as parts, together as wisdom, but experienced as a state of mind. Therefore, while we've understood wisdom in terms of what level of reality or dimension it exists in, ontology, ology, the study, ontos, what exists, ontology, we've talked about it in terms of epistemology, epistos, kinds of knowing, so how we know it, where it lives. Now we're also saying it's a state. It's a state of self where you're in a flow state of justice, doing your single activity, your purpose at all times, while also having this knowledge to preserve it and stay in it. So if you're a fan of the basketball, you'll notice that there are some times when a player gets into the zone, but it lasts for about a minute max. Can't preserve it. There's a famous YouTube story about a great baseball pitcher. He talks about not realizing he had a game on that day and taking some LSD with his friends and having to pitch. And being able to maintain that because of, well, the artificial Jiriki, artificial psychic energy, was able to maintain that flow state for a whole game. And it's an interesting story. But usually it's temporary because no wisdom. Therefore, while you may get lucky with, like this guy did one time with LSD, our idea is to, well, as human beings, our purpose is to perfect the logos so we can recognize that state, build to it through our purification of ignorance and perfection of wisdom, and when we're in that state, have that wisdom that we have been developing to maintain it. Right? It's a win-win-win.
Win-win-win-win-win.
Right?
Oh, very handsome and or pretty.
Well, thank you. That's very nice of you to say.
I'm eating the testicles up. Be a reasonable gooner.
You're eating the testicles of a reasonable gooner? Oh my goodness. Scandal. Scandals are good for getting content on YouTube, I hear. So I should make that a thumbnail. No, I shouldn't. That's nonsense. All right. Speaking of focused on a task, let's focus. So, this, therefore, what we've defined, the opposite of Sneesius, not just knowing about philosophy and dream work, but also including midwifery, and also doing it at all times, both publicly and privately, gets us into a state of justice, preserved with wisdom, allows us to become just and beautiful ourselves, but also is what it means to be truly a human. It's the principle of humanity. It's for all of us. It's the standard of humans to continuously follow the logos through the dialectic at all times. To rule yourself according to the logos, dialectic, and your dream maker. Principle. To do otherwise, to lie for profit or privilege or whatever else, is antithetical to humanity and the philosophical principles. So we can see a connection between what it means to be a human and to follow the true philosophical principles. We're discovering something essential about the human race and that which opposes it. Isn't that interesting?
Wow. 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 Wow.
I'm eating the testicle.
Wow. Absolutely wow.
You're a little bitch-ass baby.
Oh my goodness, not me.
They're completely lying to you.
Wow.
Well, that's not true because I don't think so.
Well, it is true because you do think so. I don't know. Sorry.
Disgusting. I'm so disgusted.
I'm so disgusted too. So, interesting. It's not only interesting that we've come to understand it for ourselves, but we've seen how somebody who does have this understanding and is seeing through it. Notice, has Socrates been functioning in this way the whole text? Has he ever let Jesus take over the conversation? Has he ever, which would be treating him like a child? I'm going to pretend you know something you don't and pretend to be stupider than I am and not assume the mastership or rulership of the dialogue. Would that be a betrayal of his soul and the principles? The principles of the dialectic being, the one with the art asks the questions and the one who doesn't answers. Principles. Has Socrates been in a state of justice this whole time? And in doing so, Notice, belief says, hey, I'm a priest, you're not. I'm a bishop, you're not. I'm president, you're not. You can never be like me because I'm special. We are the special billionaire Epstein class. You can't be one of us. This is different. Because it's the principle of what it means to truly be human, any human can raise themselves to that level should they apply themselves. Meaning, by virtue of Socrates being just and beautiful, using his wisdom to guide his subjects and to be a true leader and ruler, he has brought Jesus to this insight himself. That's the dialectic. He didn't win by owning him in a debate that made for a clickbait YouTube title. He led him to an insight that could potentially make Jesus like Socrates himself. As we are following, and we can become true human beings ourselves by following the text. See?
Win, 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 win.
Win, 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 win. Right?
Be a reasonable gooner.
Okay, we'll be reasonable gooners by reading this book.
The hell's wrong with you people? You sick freaks.
Come on.
Oh, very handsome and or pretty.
Thank you. You are a hard master, Socrates. Mastership. You judge him to be a traitor to philosophy. Yup. That's Synesius. Not just a traitor to philosophy, a traitor to humanity. To follow these philosophical principles, to become one out of many in your soul, to discover your true purpose, and to function in that way always, to become just and beautiful yourself, is the purpose of humanity. That's why it's the meaning of life. That's why it's important for us to tell the truth about it. Even if I don't have the 50,000 viewers of Hassan Piker and the 50,000 viewers of Asmongold, which I deserve. Some are saying. Me, I'm saying. But we say it anyway. So, those who do one thing internally, but for their job, manipulate others into things that they shouldn't, or they themselves have rejected, or that hurt them, or if they have any sort of mastership or rulership, like an analogy, they should be purifying them from that. Guiding our subject to remain loyal to what you have yourself freed yourself from. You're not just a traitor to philosophy, you're a traitor to your own soul. And you're a traitor too, because you're not ruling your soul properly and becoming just and beautiful and maintaining that state. You're also becoming a traitor to humanity. So we can have another kind of analogy. What we are discovering about principles is that they are universal and apply universally. So we can say, the principles of philosophy that we can both know and understand, ousia and logos, together wisdom, philosophy, apply to our soul, in either true rulership or mastership, or being a traitor. Also applies to humanity. I don't know if you can hear the birds outside, they're singing. What it means to be truly a human truly be human. Again, still, yeah, rulership as well, or a trader. Principles. So our job is to understand the principles, verify them through experience, and apply them universally. Universal principles are applied universally to universally benefit. Right? Put that in an email, send it to the left wing, establishment Democrats or left wingers, who are not finding universal principles, applying universally to universally benefit. They say shit like everything is a matter of opinion, who's to say what's right and wrong, so let's just allow a pathologist fascist party that will hurt everyone and kill everyone for profits and corruption. Allow that to be a conservative, to conserve the pathologist beliefs, to conserve cruelty. And let's never establish universal principles, apply them universally to universally benefit. Let's just say everything is everyone's opinion and we can never do anything, says the Democrats, as a genocide continues in Palestine and other places. ICE takes the street and murders Americans. The most cruel, ignorant fucks in the world. Cowards murdering innocent civilians. While the Democrats don't do anything, making them complicit because they are in the fifth hypothesis. Notice, the fourth hypothesis is belief, the fifth hypothesis is anti-logos, or materialism, or relativism. Everything is relative to personal opinions. Meaning, they didn't move from the third to the fourth to the third. Fourth is understanding. Understanding allows us to see universal principles, apply them universally to universally benefit. Like a doctor has to understand medicine and the principles of medicine, apply them to anyone who walks into his office so that they all can get healed. It's just that simple. So put that in an email, send it to your local left-winger and say, hey, by the way, how's universal healthcare coming, including dentistry? How's universal income going? Because we can't have jobs anymore because of AI and the enshittification and subjugation of everyone through capitalism. How's universal wealth equality, universal income, universal healthcare, universal etc. going? Because if you don't, the fourth hypothesis pathologos group will continue to hurt, harm, kill, oppress. So wake up and do your job. And if you can't move into the third hypothesis, find those who can and make a fantastic pitch to them so they can take your job and do it properly. Because you know what? You'll be free from whatever stress of your job and you'll be living in a fucking utopia created by those true philosophers. It'll be a win-win for you. And you won't have to live in fear of the right-wing assholes murdering you because they think, well, if we just kill people, we can win. That's what your job is. Put that in an email. Tell them. Right?
Jesus is gonna come down and wipe this place out. Who cares?
No, don't give up. We can do it.
Dude, suck my dick.
What?
It's sad. And I'm sad for you.
It's sad, but we can turn it around.
Brain rot. I ate a steak. I'm stupid. I'm drunk all the time, you know. I'm
What?
just like you.
No, not me. Joe Rogan.
I don't want to eat a monkey.
They're completely lying to you.
People don't logic their way into stupid positions. They stupid their way into.
So if they will disagree, then they have a stupid position. So again, if you can present that reasoned email, universal principles applied universally to universally benefit, and they disagree, that's a stupid position. They can't have reasoned that in themselves into that position because it's against reason itself. That should disqualify for them from the job, because that's a mark of pathologos. Therefore, a standard for all leaders should be long participation in midwifery and dream analysis to the point when they have a level of mastery over the art and a freedom from their own loyalty to their stupid positions. What an interesting world that would be, and what a fantastic kind of human race that would be. A new class of humans, and also a new class of philosophers, because while we're saying that they're the oligarchs, the religious authorities, the political authorities, the punitive justice system, but also we can say our education system is also built in the tradition of materialism. Fifth hypothesis, Aristotle. Belief, Emperor Justinian. That's the Latin Roman tradition. That's the First Reich. The Nazis also became part of that. State and religion together, bound by oppressive and ignorant beliefs, in opposition to understanding. Therefore, it's a new human race. It's the new kind of philosopher. The new way of being, that is what it means to be truly a human, a new kind of ruling of the soul. New kind of philosopher. Let's keep reading. You are a hard master, Socrates, says Jesus. You judge him to be a traitor to philosophy. Right? And we've seen his own soul and humanity. If the name fits, then that's all we can say, Jesus. And now we need a conclusion, don't we? Yes, there is a need to bring all these ideas and practices together into a unity. Is it likely you will play a role in that? It would be my pleasure to do that, Socrates. I see that brings together theology, contemplation, dialogue, dialectic, dream theory, and the practice of bringing mind to understand its function and operations. Holy fuck. Have we covered all those things? Theology, remember what theology was? It's not taking the stories literally. It's to do with mythology. It's to do with analogy. It's to do with metaphysics, the principles of mind and self, and the principles of how a soul moves through those principles, allowing us to better communicate it. Contemplation, we just went through that today. Sustained meditation, joining with your object, verifying in direct experience or usia that which we have been understanding. How do you understand? Dialectic. By the way, once you see it and understand it, can't you communicate it in true dialogue, not debate? Can you get that unless you have been applying that dialectic to your dreams? In doing so, are you gaining an understanding of how mind functions and its different cognitive functions or operations? Can you bring it all together? Could you make a speech about those things? Could you communicate that through dialogue to someone that you care about? Would that be a functioning or operation of mind? From that description you just made, I see we have added 2 new members to our interpreters. 2? Who are the 2? I thought we just had Sneesius. Oh, Ficini, maybe he's talking about Ficini. But as for this philosophy, where it is going on now, it's just my chair a little bit. Right, as for this philosophy, where is it going on now? I can tell you that. In this dream with all of you lovely noodles. wonderful.
Be a reasonable gooner.
Reasonable gooners. Right?
If you don't know, now you know.
Now you know. Hey, says Jesus. Where is it going on now? And who are those doing it? I certainly would like to know more about it. I have heard something that is going on down there. Remember, they're in heaven. They're looking down at us. I heard there's something going on.
Dude, suck my dick.
Hey! Don't say that to Socrates.
I think it's awesome.
No, it's not. But I haven't met any of those who may be doing it. Oh. I think it won't be long before I meet these new philosophers. Is that us? Is he talking about you? I'll wait until I learn more before I say more. Well, Socrates, what you can do is you can join the Discord, you can follow our Twitch and YouTube, you can donate to the channel, and you can find a PDF to the text below to learn more about us, and you can tell Jesus all about us in your lovely play going on in heaven. Right?
Dude, suck my dick.
Stop telling me to do that.
Oh, fuck.
Okay.
Can I do my plugs now? I'm trying to do
No.
comedy career.
No, RM, you can't do plugs yet. I appreciate you're a very good comedian, but no time for plugs. Can Socrates give us a plug to Jesus? So, he wants to wait until he learns more. You say new philosophers, and you appear cautious about saying more. Why is that? Is it because they drop nonsense sound drops? Because for fun and nonsense? And to entertain Jed as he reads?
Wrong. You're
Wrong.
so wrong. But that's
Oh.
okay. We're all allowed to be wrong sometimes.
That's okay.
These absolute dullards, borderline chimps, who want to kiss a fox.
We may want to kiss a fox, but
I don't want to eat a monkey.
we don't want to
I don't want to eat a monkey.
Please end kink shaming on your show.
I'm sorry, I will. So why are you so cautious, Socrates? Well, I will risk saying a few words. Hooray! So all of our long-time followers and those who've participated in chat, maybe Socrates is going to give you a shout out. Let's see. I will risk saying a few words. Consider what we have been saying about these interpreters of ours. Notice that they bring forth even interpreters of interpreters. Remember? John, the bootlicker of... Well, we've got Paul, who interprets... Well, okay, that's not true. So, Paul is the wolf in sheep's clothing. John supports him. Is that an interpreter of an interpreter? We've got Dionysius the Areopagite, who interprets Paul in the church in a good way to bring the Logos in. We've got Ficini, who interprets that interpretation, so interpreter of interpreter of interpreter. So he's been tricked by Dionysius, so he thinks, oh, maybe we can save religion. Got Mark, who denies Paul. So there's lots of interesting dynamics happening in there, isn't there? Notice they bring forth even interpreters of interpreters, and so we have a whole string of them commenting on their priors and advancing some point that degenerates even into more interpretations. The modern academic tradition, by the way. We are going back to the source, literally, and the source of thought. None of them are doing what we did. They comment on what we have said and write their own commentaries. God fucking damn. Brilliant. Yes, exactly. Have you ever been to university? That's all it is. No one's experiencing shit from themselves. You're treated like children. This is some other guy's better than you, idiots. Let's interpret his interpretations. Comment on commentaries. Wow. This guy nails it, doesn't he? Shall we conclude that we have not brought into existence those like ourselves, only interpreters? So we started the book talking about how they're same and how they're different. Well, we started by Socrates saying, well, whole and part, right? The logos. He's following the logos in his thought. Whoever talks for us in this book or this play needs to understand us as a whole and also understand us in our parts and how they're arranged, ordered harmoniously, etc. Then we have to start our conversation. Before we talk about how we're different, which is pretty much the entire dialogue, let's talk about how we are the same. We are the same in that we didn't share sufficiently, we didn't write down our own teachings, number one. Number two, they've both had a transcendent experience, Jesus of mind, divine luminosity, even if it was just a glimpse, the third oxiding picture. Socrates had it in much greater depth, going all the way to the 9th and 10th oxiding picture. Haven't seen the 10th yet, or the first hypothesis. Or maybe going beyond the first hypothesis by seeing the significance of dreams. So they're the same in that they both had an experience that most people don't get currently. And they're the same in that because they haven't written down their own teachings, they left it for people to interpret their own words. People who have not experienced and not understood. So those two things, ousia and logos, experience and understanding, they don't have it. So how are they going to comment on Jesus or Socrates? You got the worst kind of person, Paul, Justinian, commenting on the worst possible interpretation. And you got people who are good, like Plato, Plotinus, Proclus, who are trying their best, but without that level of vision and understanding of Socrates, even though they've got a decent amount, they're still limited. So that's how the book started. This is how we're the same. We had a greater vision or insight or experience, and we left it for others to interpret it. And this is how the book's ending as well. Because of that, they haven't brought into existence other truly human people in this new class of being, the new way of being for humanity, or the new philosophers. So, all of our work on seeing the value of the dialectic, and not only that, but applying the dialectic to the dialectic, so understanding, which has led us to realize that there are four aspects. If the dialectic has four parts: definition, the true, demonstration, division, and conclusion, we can see that to define the dialectic requires this kind of reading, philosophy. Also the application of the dialectic to truth. The use of the demonstration, the highest functioning of the dialectic is to purify what's false. That's midwifery. You can't do either division unless you have dream analysis. And you also, as a conclusion, how do you then, having gone through this process of the dialectic, relate back to the self or other back to self? Share it. We can now share it if you see through it. So, we have seen the significance of sharing, and here they are making that conclusion. Because we didn't share it, others could not relate back to true philosophy because we're missing the stage. Instead, we have some understanding of true philosophy from Plato, including the dialectic, the book that goes through Socrates' conversation with Parmenides to get the dialectic. from Pierre Grimes, who rediscovered philosophical midwifery. We have the Orange Book, so we can nail down the dialectic of midwifery. But also this book itself has allowed us to gain great insight into the nature of the pathologos and its cause and how we would address it. Socrates is saying, hey, you readers, you need to go beyond everyone else. Everyone since Socrates have dropped the mark to some level, in particular dream analysis. So he's encouraging you, the reader, to apply the dialectic you are learning and hopefully reflecting on with your friends to your dreams every day. It's a continuous kind of thing. And write that book. In doing so, you can, having gone through all of these stages, gain a mastery to the point where you can share it most effectively. So, by us having applied the dialectic to the dialectic, we've seen that there are 4 aspects to our purpose, or our way of being or functioning as a true human. We've also seen that in sharing, we will have these kinds of interpreters. Very few people will listen. In my experience, there's only been 1 or 2 people who've actually listened to the stuff that I say. I'm working on it as a musician to, like Socrates, first got interested in music before he became the Socrates we know today. But there's been a couple of people who listened, and they are very curious beings. But, it's not very common. Again, I deserve 50,000 viewers of Asmongold and the 50,000 viewers of Hassan Piker. They should be mine.
Wrong. You're
Dead-eyed, and I don't use...
It's sad. And I'm sad for you.
I'm sad for them. Don't they know that?
Imagine people changing their positions and improving for the better.
They could be changing and improving for the better.
Everything this guy does is perfect and beautiful. And he's handsome. I said it.
No, that's very true as well. Also very true. And if they watch the channel, they will realize...
My head is quite large and filled with secrets.
Filled with secrets that they can fill their heads with too. So, given that difficulty, it's worth gaining an understanding of all of the possible ways people can respond to the truth that we have as our purpose to share. Because Socrates and Jesus didn't reach that level of sharing. Of course, Jesus didn't go very far at all. After his vision, he went straight into his beliefs. But Socrates did see the significance of dream analysis, but we murdered him before he shared. He was in his book, the Phaedo, he talks about how his dreams were telling him to make music. He said, I'm not much of a writer, I'm not much of a poet, but I can take existing poetry of Aesop and mix it up to share the logos. And then we said, oh, that's interesting. That would really help everyone on the planet, help our planet, and help our species, and maybe even help humanity evolve into the next level of development. Or we could listen to the most stupid and ignorant among us and kill you. And they had a vote, and the ignorant won. Of course it fucking did. And we killed him. So, as a result, they weren't able to share, and they weren't able to make people like themselves, but we can do it because we have this book. And in doing so, it's worth understanding that even though our intentions might be the best, there will be all these different sorts of people along the way that we will run into. Ideally, we want to learn how to respond most appropriately to each of them. Because,
There's only 2 options at the end of an argument.
No.
1, you're wrong.
No.
Where's the joy?
Right.
The problem is that you can't reason someone out of a position that they didn't reason themselves into.
Exactly. The cause of our interpretation is a pathologos, not a reasoned argument. It can manifest as all of these different ways, but in essence...
People don't logic their way into stupid positions. They stupid their way into stupid positions.
They stupided their way in. But as Einstein says, you can't solve the problems created by a certain way of thinking by that same way of thinking. So too, you cannot cause problems caused by the ignorance or the 5th and 4th hypothesis by further beliefs or materialism. You have to move into a higher way of functioning, understanding Therefore, our learning is a love of understanding, philodianoia. That's the new study. So, one of the core units in every curriculum should be philodianoia. The love of understanding. So, interesting that the book started with this sameness, that they were the same and that they left it for interpreters to interpret what they said, who didn't have that level of vision and understanding. And that's how it's concluding as well. Shall we conclude, says Soc to Jeebus. Where is he? That we have not brought into existence those like ourselves. So, likeness, another key term. Like and unlike. But only interpreters, those who are unlike. Shall we say that the obvious, that both of our ways of being express our practice as a way of life? A practice as a way of life. So everything we've been learning about dream analysis, dialectic, reading, reflecting, always. And if you don't do it always, even in public, you're like Sneesius, a betrayer of humanity, philosophy, and soul. So we did our practice as a way of life. Have we been amiss in not stressing this obvious truth? Philosophy. What's the truth? Philosophy is in the hands of scholars, not philosophers. Right? One of those things. Remember those things we've been doing? What are the pathologos projected onto society? We got the billionaires oppressing people through their pathologos ignorance and venerating, oh yes, you guys should not have education and not have any money and not have any social care. But meanwhile, privately, we will have all of these socialized incentives and bailouts and benefits, and we will have education. Same thing, the religious. Same thing, the political class. Same thing, the punitive justice class. We investigated ourselves and realized we don't actually benefit by punishing ourselves, but we'll punish you, says the Hogs. We should have guns, and you shouldn't, says Ice. We should get to shoot who we want, but you shouldn't even be allowed to exist. But also we can say the scholarship class in the tradition of Aristotle and Justinian. Same thing. Pathologos-based groups. Some more obvious than others. Especially these two. Notice. Contradiction. They're not living it. One rule for thee, another rule for me. They wouldn't like it if ICE came banging down their door in their little gated communities. But when it's done to other people. So, same thing for the academic class. Philosophy is in the hand of scholars, not philosophers. They ain't philosophers, they're cosplaying a Noah. That's why it's all debates. For all of the philosophy professors there are in the world, still have Nazism, still have capitalism. They still teach in universities that teach marketing, how to manipulate people to exploit them. What the fuck's going on? They ain't philosophers, they are pretending. It's okay. It's okay to be wrong sometimes, unless you change, so long as you change your mind. Don't get addicted to your ignorance. Right?
Wrong. You're so wrong. But that's okay. We're all allowed to be wrong sometimes.
All you have to realize
Kant
is...
would say some fucking bullshit.
And then you'll give up on your ignorance. And if someone says, you should still teach Kant, you'll say...
Calm your fucking tits.
Because...
Kant's a little fucking bitch.
And if they say, oh no, but I got a doctorate and I spent a lot of time developing a justification for my pathologous ignorance, you can say,
Die mad about it, bitch. You sick fuck.
options. You have options. So back to Socrates. As interesting as those commentaries from the interpreters might be, they're a far cry from participating in living dialogues. Ooh. That explore truth and reality. Again, look at those who presently are called philosophers. The Petersons of the world. I laugh because he not quickly, it's very easy to see his true colors now that people are waking up to his nonsense. But a lot of people think that he is the personification of a philosopher, when no. To him we say,
Oh my fuck.
oh my fuck. Again, look at those who are called philosophers, and you can very quickly see, as we just did with Peterson, they are lovers not of wisdom. That clear and brilliant light of being. We've got a definition of what it means to be a philosopher. Lover of wisdom, which is a lover of that clear and brilliant light of being, but philodoxiers, or lovers of opinion. There we go. The topic of today, what is the new kind of philosopher? It's actually the real kind of philosopher. Lovers of wisdom, that clear and brilliant light of being. Of course, we see that it's also a kind of mean. Helps you develop the dialectic to purify your false ignorance, as Jesus didn't do, but Socrates did. But also, that's using the mean to purify what's false, but also to move through that second hypothesis, brilliant light of being, wisdom, or eighth oxiding picture to the first. So while we can say we're lovers of wisdom, there is still an upward movement and a downward purification involved. Ain't no one at school doing that I've ever seen, ever. Except for one dude, the author of this book. Instead, they're lovers of their own opinions. So it's very fun. I find it funny when anyone says, I'm a realist. Because they say, I agree with all of my own opinions. And modern psychology, modern philosophy, that's all it is. I like my own opinions that I've never reflected on. So I'm here, I've got a PhD to prove that I am wise when you're not. Interesting. Worth seeing, worth changing, worth learning a new way of being, worth reading this fun book. And if you don't...
Wrong. You're so wrong. But that's okay. We're all allowed to be wrong sometimes.
You can be wrong sometimes, so long as you learn.
Hey, you can't say that to her. You show her some respect.
I agreed with her.
Absolutely gooped.
I wasn't good.
It's better to hum in the sink than to sink in the cum.
Oh my goodness. How is that relevant?
It's a total shit show.
Oh my goodness. So, Socrates. They are not lovers of wisdom, that clear and brilliant light of being, but philodoxiers, or lovers of opinion. So I have heard that there is a... How long until Okay. So I have heard there is a breed of curious seekers. That's us. Hooray. Hooray. Curious seekers who have not only been exploring dreams and contemplation, but they even write new dialogues, taking off in a direction akin to ours, yet different in an interesting way. There is your guidance from your gurus, people. Can you write a dialogue like this? We've given a head start. Do one Jesus and Buddha. No, Socrates and Buddha. We could do one on dream analysis. That book has yet to be written. And you can do anything, so long as it's a way of exploring your highest vision and understanding of the dialectic as applied to logos and the purification of pathologos. That's a win-win-win.
It's a win-win.
It's a win-win-win-win-win.
It's a win-win-win-win-win-win-win-win.
You make absolutely.
Suck my dick.
So not only have these new seekers been exploring dreams and contemplation, but they even write new dialogues, taking off in a direction akin to ours, yet different in an interesting way. They have revived Homer's midwifery. Oh, speaking of which, new release of the Odyssey coming soon. Good translation, Balboa translation. They have revived Homer's midwifery and developed a method and practice to accompany it. That's the orange book we're reading. So yes, I am curious about calling them a name because it is not clear, at least not yet, just where they are really going. What? Come on, we're doing our best, aren't we? Bit sad, come on. I think we're going, well, we're doing midwifery, we're exploring dreams, we're understanding the true nature of philosophy and its spiritual nature, contemplation. Maybe our method isn't so good because it's on Twitch and Discord. I don't know. It's not clear to Socrates where we're going, so I guess it's up to us. Make it clear. Let's go in a good direction, go all the way to excellence, develop a method and practice to accompany everything we've been seeing, so that Socrates is happy to call us we new seekers. The new philosophers. Oh, I'm a bit sad. It's not clear where they're going. Well, excuse me for doing 135 episodes on this book. I think we're going in a good direction. I guess one downside is I haven't got a lot of followers, but isn't that just the virtue of where we are as a society since Socrates? I will have to think about this. I will carry this puzzle with me for a while and see where it goes. Because at the moment I'm a bit sad. I was hoping he'd say, they're doing great work and they're going in a good direction. And these are the best beans and the best noodles. But he said, I don't know where they're going to go. Well, is it because of my wacky sound drops?
If you don't know, now you know.
It's sad. And I'm sad for you.
It's a total shit show.
But some of them are legitimate.
No, you're not the one that's mentally unwell. You're brave. You are crossing into a new bounds.
Surely it can't be our sound drops. All right, let's keep reading. I'll have to wonder about that. Would have liked a greater shout out from Sock, but here we go. There we are. Now that's interesting, says Jesus. It suggests another member of the class of interpreters. Well, you're the best class. Could they be members that continue the Platonic tradition and add significant elements to it? It seems this may even be those who live their life in conformity with their philosophy and have become themselves exemplars of their philosophy. Well, maybe that's it. Maybe we haven't reached the end. We haven't yet become an exemplar. Have we learned to do dream analysis every day, to talk through the dialectic in every way, to add significant elements? Have we written a dream book yet? Have we done the sequel to this book? Have we done Socrates and Buddha, a dialogue in heaven, incorporating the oxiding pictures yet? Well, no, so guess we'll have to do that before Socrates gives us our props and says to us,
They're secretly turned on by it.
Whoops.
Absolutely. This is why I love this channel, man.
So Socrates says he loves the channel. I do think you are right about there being a new member of the class. As I consider it, I think they may not be interpreters at all, but exponents of a living tradition. Yay. This raises a question. Shall we consider that the divisions we have made are similar to the psychological types of man? This is super interesting and important. We have to recognize that we're not all the same, right? Just because someone claims to be a politician doesn't mean they are of the same psychological type as everyone else. There are some that are sadistic fucks who are murdering people en masse and using their position in any of those areas we mentioned: money, politics, religion, justice system, educational system, to do the worst harm. They're not the same type. Can we develop a map or list of all of those psychological types based on those lists of interpreters? For in reviewing our divisions, notice division is one of those four categories of the dialectic, have we not identified certain attitudes or states of mind? That's a big one. That block a more full participation in the spiritual life. So all of those categories of interpreters are a kind of block. That makes sense because we've recognized that interpretation is the opposite of reading or dialectic, seeing. It's an mega analogy part B. As the logos is to dialectic, so too pathologos or belief is to interpretation. So all those interpreters are blocked in some way. So the kinds of blocks that we have would determine the kind of psychological type. Are you a fascist? Are you a sexist? Are you a racist? Are you someone who's doing otherwise pretty good like Plato but missing some important parts? Are you doing good internally but lie in your job? Another kind of betrayal to humanity, right? How many journalists lie to keep their job? causing the conditions for these tremendous atrocities that we see in the world. So all different kinds of blocks. There may be different ways of describing psychological types, but with our work, we know that these divisions mark the degree that one can enter into the spiritual journey. In other words, the psychological types of man are reflections of the kinds of pathologos, and each are defined by a level of block to the spiritual journey or following the logos, which fits with our map earlier of the classes of man from the Republic. We have the philosophical king or queen, or if you're in a group, the aristocratic type. Notice it's a way of governing to be ruled by a philosophical queen or king, or to be ruled by the best or the aristocratic. Not the way it's lied about today, but the true version. Everything else is less. This is true rulership. Everything else is a diminishment. The timocratic, to be ruled by those who seek fame and honor and warhawks. Oligarchic, ruled by those who want to make all the money for themselves. Democratic, those who just go with the wind, go with the opinions, have no principles, and just go with whatever the many like, which creates the conditions for these oligarchs to just manipulate their way into exploitation of others, which creates the conditions for the worst kind of man, the tyrannical man, who says, I will save you, many democratic opinion havers, from your subjugation from the landlords and the billionaire class, the oligarchs. That was how Trump marketed it himself, as the savior of the many from the billionaire class. Oh, and also he said, no more wars, so I'll also save you from the democratic class. So it does play out that way, but these are all analogies or theology, mythological or analogical personifications or representations of the soul. In other words, these are psychological states of man. All diminishments from the ideal, all representations of a kind of pathologos that function as all of these different interpretations of truth and to the side we have a new kind of person, exponents of the living tradition. So not interpreters, but so non-interpreters, but exponents of the living tradition of a living. Can you hear the birdies? They're right outside my window. What we are tentatively calling the new philosophers, so long as, well, we're babies. Let's see if we go in the right direction, and Socrates will say those guys were the bomb. Philosophers, who were defined by live their life in conformity with their philosophy. Of the philosophy, and become exemplars of the philosophy. And become exemplars. And we've seen that involves reading these logos texts to gain the truth of the dialectic. To do philosophical midwifery, to purify pathologos, that's removing false, that's the dialectic to what's false. That's what that sixth class of interpreters, Plato and those, Plato, Plotinus and Proclus, didn't do. And even Sneasius didn't do, because he still was in justice. His dreams must have been telling him about stop fucking hurting people and lying to people as a bishop. Dialectic to the truth. And what we're seeing is that true philosophy is exploring of the ideas of self, one, but also self and reality, or mind. Lots we could put mind being eighth oxidizing picture, second hypothesis, and self. We can talk about the one self, the true self, the good self, the first hypothesis. 9 and 10 oxidizing pictures, but self and reality covers it. Dream analysis. No, not just dream analysis. Continuous. Let's find the word in the text. These true philosophers are the kinds of people Socrates wants to be homies with. Right?
I love this guy.
Like, literally, suck my dick, dude.
That's...
This is why I love this channel, man.
Yeah.
It's better to come in the sink than to sink in the cum.
Is that right?
The more holes, the better.
Okay, calm
All
down.
checks out.
Okay. Okay. Socrates wants to follow kinship with dreams, practice their philosophy, continuous study with dreams, because dreams unites imagination with our highest understanding. So one of the issues we have in our current world is, there's a quote I heard today, people can more easily imagine the death and destruction of our planet than the ending of capitalism. Capitalism is disgusting injustice and obviously stupid and fucking cruel, but being so brainwashed that we've lost our use of our imagination. Remember, imagination was part of it. That whole section on fantasy and the use of intimacy and heightened experiences to engage in philosophical speculation, which is a kind of imagination, but not at the whims of our pathologos, fantasies, images, distractions. So using our imagination for the logos. So continuous study of dreams is what we're looking for. So reading the logos texts, dialectic on to discover the truth of self and reality. Continuous dream, not in dream interpretation, remember? Dream analysis. Dialectic to both, kind of division, and also sharing. Through our arts, art and skill, and as exemplar. So let's say sharing through, let's move it back. So sharing all of this, sharing our highest vision and understanding, and also testing it. Through dialectic and art, and as an exemplar. Of dialectic. Just sharing dialectic. So each of these you could look at as the S and S. So how do you find the dialectic itself in relation to itself? Just itself, like only itself? Through this reading. Whoops. Oh my goodness. What happened?
I'm eating the testicles of this bull, and I'm eating it raw. Raw bull balls. This is raw buffalo balls.
That's so gross.
Why can't these guys shut up? Whether or not it's about Jesus.
So now that we have it itself, how do we use it to something other than itself? Or how do we purify the pathologos? By the way, others to others, or divisions, how does that apply to all of the other others? Your life, your relationships, everything else. As messages to do both those things. Dream work. By the way, after going through all of that, how do you allow others to relate back to that self, back to the self? So this other back to self has two kinds of ways of doing it. You could say other back to the subject. How can we inspire others to learn about the dialectic? But there's a different way as well. You can go higher and say also other back to the self. If this is the art of what we just read, contemplation, how we relate back to ourselves, then by sharing what we've been learning, we allow others to relate to the self in a way that they haven't been able to before. Just as Socrates had to learn from the young lady in the marketplace talking about understanding the self and the whole of seeing, the books of Heraclitus, and also had to the musician to begin with, the beautiful young lady sharing understanding, the texts of Heraclitus and those others, to hunt down Parmenides to learn the dialectic. which then he could then apply to see the significance of his dreams. So we have to be that musician or that young lady or that book writer or the exemplar of the dialectic Parmenides who sees through that. We can be either one of those. At any stage of our life, we can be one of those and be a positive influence to others who could be the next Socrates. Sharing it. As an exemplar, by living your life in conformity, that's a different class. So we've got these interpreters. So all of these would be different expressions of the pathologos, blocking the logos or spiritual development, blocking participation in spiritual development. What's the name for participating in spiritual development? The logos. Following the logos, seeking and following the logos, and to be ruled by the logos. So we have a map for psychology. Now we've talked about how modern psychology isn't psychology. It's borrowing from the medical model. Every problem is an ailment. You've got this disease or this disease. You're a narcissist, you're bipolar, you're ADHD, you're whatever, autistic. That's the medical model. And also, it's not based on anything true. It's based on the love of opinions, philodoxia. That's why I go to 2 different psychotherapists or whatever, they give you 2 different opinions. Ask them more questions about their upbringing, you'll see it reflects their bullshit, their own pathologos. Talk to them about their dreams and you'll see that even greater. Anyway, so if that's the false model, gaining an actual map of all of these kinds of interpretations that reflect all of the kinds or classes of pathologos would be able to create for us a true map of all of the different psychological states or states of development of the soul leading up to the ideal. Being yourself, knowing yourself, and showing yourself at all times. Isn't that interesting? So, like medicine, you have the one ideal that you can have knowledge of, but for philosophy, also be an exemplar of yourself and have an understanding of all of the kinds of sicknesses. This is cancer, this is blah, 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 blah. A hernia, this is hepatitis, I don't know, whatever. But these are all of the different kinds of distortions or sicknesses relative to the ideal. Or for the soul, different kinds of interpreters, different from non-interpretive living tradition of the true philosopher or the new philosopher. Isn't that neat?
I think it's so awesome.
Do you think it's awesome, Oracle?
People don't logic their way into stupid positions. They stupid their way into stupid positions.
Into stupid positions. That's right. That's why we need all 4 of them, actually. This to help them realize that they've stupid themselves into stupid positions. Midwifery to purify that true stupid, but also you can't be purifying what's false unless you're reading, learning the true. And by the way, if you're not getting help from your dreams, you can't do any of it. So therefore you need all. Good point, Oracle, as always.
My head is quite large and filled with secrets.
That's right. That's why you're so wise. Right?
Everything this guy does is perfect and beautiful. And he's handsome. I said it.
Well, thank you. And also another insightful point. Okay. So, different ways of describing different psychological types. These divisions mark the degree one can enter into the spiritual journey or the logos. And Jesus says to that, yes, you are right about that, but we need to place them in a hierarchical order. That sounds like your job. That's part of reading, right? Find the terms, find the puzzle, find the question, and arrange the terms in the hierarchical order to solve the puzzle. I would place Sneesius at the top of our list. Then Dionysius the Areopagite next in line. He showed that the metaphysics of both of our traditions can become one. And in that move, we can reconcile the other Abrahamic religions with the highest understanding and insights of our spiritual traditions. Notice, Jesus is failing. First of all, why would you put Sneezies at the top of the interpreter if he's fucking with people? If he's lying to people? And he should know better. Second, you're misunderstanding Dionysius. He wasn't showing that both traditions can become one. In fact, that was the negative implications of him having to lie about belief to sneak in the logos under an oppressive regime by Emperor Justinian Fuckface McGee.
You're a little bitch-ass baby.
Exactly. So notice, Jesus is not at the level of vision and understanding himself, even though he's gone through this one dialogue with Socrates. His way of categorizing these is fucked. It's reflective of his own pathologos that he has not addressed. He's not done midwifery. He's not done dream analysis. So his way of understanding other people will be influenced by his problem. Because that's not what Dionysius was doing. Reconciling the Abrahamic traditions, those bound by the root mean analogy, as Abraham was instructed to murder human beings, so too the Jews, the Muslims, and the Christians should murder human beings if their priest or president or billionaire tells them to. That's fucking bad. It's not salvageable. We can find a passage out thinking Christians should become Platonic philosophers or Socratic philosophers, considering the actual significant teachings of Jesus is about understanding and states of mind. And also, Mark shows the implications of one and the other, and also the first two lines of John, and also Dionysius. But he's not saving the both. That sounds like that would put Jesus as Ficini, because Ficini's kind of interpretation is trying to salvage them both. Both sides are fooled by the lion, pretending to be a wolf, Dionysius pretending to be a Christian. So Jesus would be in this category. Interesting. What kind of pathologos is that? By the way, after Jesus' vision, highest vision, his enlightenment experience, having a glimpse of the ox, the third ox-heading picture, did he go on to the fourth ox-heading picture and struggle to catch the ox? What we would call philosophical midwifery, or the application of understanding to address your beliefs that prevented this as a state of being? Nope. He went straight back into his beliefs. So if you look at the Gospel of Mark, his parables were about understanding and states of minds from the Hellenic tradition that he was very much influenced by, had a vision, and then went straight back into his Jewish bullshit. I am the next Elijah. I am the king of the Jews, etc., etc. Causing his pathetic end, like a tragic story, except without the realization. God, why have you abandoned me? And his magicking from the dead, the resurrection, was not in there. It's added 200 years later by the church. What does that mean? He's trying to both sides it. Oh, this vision, yeah, maybe it's part of Judaism, one of the Abrahamic traditions. See, it's his problem. We're able to understand even Jesus' problem. Imagine that. Imagine telling all the Christians and the Mormons and all of the Protestants and Anglicans and all of the wars happening in Ireland between this kind of Christian against that kind of Christian, and all the murdering that's happened as a result. Saying, hey, guys, all of you, shut up for a second. Not only can we understand Jesus' vision within the hypotheses and the ox-heading pictures, we also know where his problem was. Notice that humans have problems? His problem was number 8. Trying to both sides belief and understanding. By the way, are you fuckers killing each other based on your beliefs? And if you understood, you'd be able to come together under universal principles applied universally to benefit universally? Oh my fuck. You're followers of this kind of ignorance, playing out that same ignorance yourself. Just like MAGA followers play out the same bullshit, followers of Netanyahu play out the same genocidal, murderous, disgusting bullshit, etc., etc. Therefore, you can also see Jesus' problem and not follow it if you become Socratic and embrace using your own mind to know your mind and know what understanding is. Using your mind to go from belief to understanding, the fourth to third hypothesis, the literal meaning of life for human beings. Imagine telling all of them that. Doing a press conference in Ireland or in anywhere. Pretty neat. Pretty cool. We can understand it. We can understand Jesus' problem. We see it being expressed right now. Is it neat?
Calm your fucking tits.
Do we have to calm our tits?
I'm cute. Like,
I ate a steak. I'm stupid. I'm drunk all the time, you know. I'm just like you.
Hey, like me.
Calm your fucking tits.
Calm your tits. See, cool, eh? So notice, because Jesus is reading the text or talking to Socrates in the text, he is doing this part, the truth. He has recognized there is a puzzle, like we are. There's a puzzle. We have to hierarchically arrange these 9 kinds of interpretations and assign it to different kinds of pathologos, ideally according to the dialectic, because that's the structure of intelligibility. You wouldn't get this puzzle unless you were reading, so he's doing this first one like us. That's important because in trying to do that exercise, Jesus sacrificed his pathologos. You have to do the two together. If you're not challenging yourself on a question like that, how are you going to surface your problems? Jesus did. Great. He better reflect on his answer with Socrates and his dreams to find out where he missed the mark. And then as he goes through a perfection or a development of solving that question, he maybe shares it with others. Makes a new psychotherapeutic handbook. What do they call that? The DHM or the DMV? There's some name for some love of opinions, philodoxia, handbook of modern psychology. Do a better one based on this. But notice, if we're able to recognize where Jesus is missing the mark, we are perfecting or sharing our art of the dialectic in that we could maybe help him reflect on his issue. See? It's a win-win-win.
Win.
So let's see how Jesus goes. He showed that the metaphysics of both our traditions can be one. And in that move, we can reconcile the other Abrahamic traditions with the highest in understanding and insights of our spiritual traditions. However, in terms of interpreters, he hasn't even realized that these two are interpreters. Oh my goodness. We know that Sneesius allowed himself to appear as a defender. Oh, I see. So he's starting with what their vision is and then what their problem is. So he's saying that Sneesius has the highest vision because he incorporated dreams, whereas Dionysius had the second highest in vision because he didn't have dreams, but he saw the dialectic, the logos. But he mixed his own problems in there as well, so. Sneesius allowed himself to appear as a defender of the core beliefs of Christians while treating them allegorically for himself. Dionysius appeared as a Christian while presenting the core beliefs of Christianity allegorically within a Platonic philosophy. Right, so you could treat them allegorically as expressions of different pathologos. Paul's problem, John's problem, etc. You could use them allegorically to represent the truth. If you are adding that in, it's not actually in there. It's in Platonic philosophy. You are sneaking yourself in, pretending to be one of those wolves, a lion in wolf's clothing. Sneesius held to the value of dreams, while not so with Dionysius. neither made a public presentation of their fundamental views, so they didn't do that last stage, sharing, nor engaged with dialogues with their fellow man. We're keeping both in that. So sharing is doing dialectic, sharing dialogues, and also writing stuff. How would you rank the next in order? So, that's the question for you. If you want to impress Socrates and become one of these new classes of, enter the true race of human beings as the new philosophers, those genuinely seeking truth, Socrates is going to wait and see how you go with it. Do you want to impress him? Do you want to be in that class? If so, then take everything we have seen about those kinds of interpreters and create your own model and reasoning for how you would organize them. As you go through this true activity based on your reading, keep aware of any negative thoughts, negative states of mind, any words that come up that say that you suck, you can't do it, surely you can't be enlightened, you can't be the true race of humans, you can't be the new philosopher. Write them down. What are the words? What are the states of mind? How do they function? Does it reflect anything similar that you've seen in your past? Take notes. That's the game. You gotta do both. The true and the false. And by the way, after you do that, you'll have a dream that evening. Number 3. See if your dreams can be understood allegorically, not literally. See if you can somehow find that allegory by applying the dialectic, the same dialectic structure you are trying to apply to these interpreters to gain the message of your dreams. And by the way, talk about it with your friends. Share it. Hey, maybe even do the dream analysis with your friends. Do this exercise with your friends. Explore your midwifery with your friends. Then Socrates might look at you and say, you are that new kind of seeker. You're not in the old tradition of the academics, lovers of opinions, people who go to colleges to gather at Kant's opinions and Hegel's opinions and Nietzsche's opinions so they can do a debate and betray their soul, betray philosophy, and betray humanity by using this to just debate their own opinions, not solving problems, not reaching excellence.
You're a little bitch-ass baby.
They're a bitch-ass baby because they haven't realized that.
Kant's a little fucking bitch.
And everything they've read is
Kant would say some fucking bullshit.
Right? So maybe you can go from those people claiming to be philosophers but actually philodoxias, which would be therefore one of those kinds of interpreters, someone fooled or ignorant or blocked from the logos, and become one of the new philosophers. That's the game. How would you rank them? And after you tried, what were your dreams like? And did you have a stab at finding the allegorical meaning by finding some way of using these logos terms we've been collecting, or the dialectic structure we've been collecting, to find a way of reflecting on your dreams? What was that like? If so, what ox-herding picture are you in? What hypothesis are you in? And what's it feel like to be entering into the true class of humanity, the true race of man, and the new class of philosophers called the new philosophers? To be truly human? Are you unifying your soul? Are you being more just and beautiful? What's that feel like? If you want to share how it's going, feel free to drop a comment below on YouTube or join the Discord and share your reflections on how it's been, how it's going. There's a link to Discord below. If you're benefiting from these streams, podcasts, you can donate to the channel below. You can find a link to the text below. And all the best. Let's show Socrates that he can conclude that we are the new philosophers and the seekers. Let's show him. Let's say to Socrates,
It's better to come in the sink than to sink in the cum.
well, if we are to say that, let's make sure that he knows it's an allegory. Woof. Saved it.
This is why I love this channel, man.
Yeah, I agree. So, have fun, and I'll see you in the next one.